There's one more thing that a function can do that we haven't talked about yet, right? We talked about functions that do something, print out a message or whatever. But there's another thing that functions can do, and that is returning a value. Okay, functions that return a value still are a black box, but we need to, it's just another thing that we need to know. We need to know what the parameters are, what the function does, and what it returns. Now remember, you can return a value and do something, or you can just return a value. Let's take a look at this code here. Okay, so we've got a custom function here called doAddition, in which I give it two arguments. One goes into the parameter slot and int number 1. The other one is int number 2. Inside that function, it creates a variable called int answer, and it says int answer is equal to number 1 plus number 2. And then finally, what it does is it returns int answer. Notice the function itself does not print anything. It does not actually do anything visible. Okay? All it does is return an answer. So if I execute this function, if I just say doAddition 1 plus 4, nothing will happen visibly. It will do the math and it will return it, but since I'm not capturing that or doing anything with what it returns, then it just goes away. Okay? So I need to do this, where I'm saying int number is equal to the result or the return value of this function with these two parameters. So when I run this, int number will be equal to 5. I can also then print that, but if you look at this, you think about it, this is the same as this. That's what we're saying here. This variable is the same as whatever this does. I can actually take this and embed that straight into the print statement and save myself an extra step. So let's play around with this in code so we can actually get our brains around it. Okay, so there is the exact code as it was. Int number 1, int number 2 as parameters. Here they're added together. Now remember the Vegas rule here. Int answer, int number 1 and int number 2 do not exist out here. If I try to print int answer, it won't acknowledge that variable. It does not exist. Same with int number 1. It doesn't exist. Those live only inside. Okay, so if I run this, it prints out the number 5. Like I said, I can take this and just put it straight in there. Does the same thing. Right? It will do those together. So return in a function does two things. The first thing it does is it stops executing the function code right there. So if I have lines of code in that function after return, those will never see the light of day. They will never be executed. So return is sort of like a break statement in a function. It just says, okay, the function's done, we're out of here. It also sends whatever that value is back. And I don't actually have to create a variable here. This could be an even simpler function. I could just do that if I wanted to. But I put that extra step in because I think it sort of illustrates what's going on a little bit better. Okay? Now, this function can be a do something and a return something function. An example of that would be if I say something like this. So now it adds them, and then it says I'm adding those two, and then it returns that value. So now when I run that, okay, so I can do something like that. I can also return something that's a little bit more useful. If I can spell, right? There we go. So in this case, I'm returning a formatted string. You can return any data type. So a formatted string works just fine. And there we go. Now, remember that this is being returned. So if I just say do addition 33 and 56, then it says the adding part, but the thing that it returns, the formatted string, just goes away because I didn't do anything with it. Okay, so you have to do something with the return value in order for it to be useful. So that is return values.